Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. The topic of today's video is decoding the ISB interview process for the Indian School of Business. Why am I shooting this video at this point of time? बहुत लोगों को पता होगा that this is the interview season for a lot of business schools, and the ISB interviews are scheduled for January and for February as well for people who applied in the second round of ISB applications this year. So firstly, all the very best to all the round 2 applicants. So in this video, I would want to share my own experience, which I went through while interviewing with ISB, and also I'll share the collective experiences of people who I have mentored personally over the last 4.5 years. So a lot of people have this misconception कि B-School interviews में they grill you. You typically have professors who ask you very technical questions on economics, maths, statistics, all of that. But trust me on this, ISB interviews, at least historically, haven't been of this nature. So ISB में क्या होता है यार, that typically people who are taking your interviews are alumni of the school. So if you're giving your interview in 2022, which is this year, you will be having panelists who are interviewing you from class of 2019, which is people who graduated in 2019 from ISB or earlier, right? So that's one key point of difference, which is professors typically don't take ISB interviews. Alumni of the school take interviews. Secondly, ISB interviews are a bit more conversational in nature. What I mean by that is, it's not necessary that जो interview ले रहा है, he or she will try to grill you on theoretical knowledge and stuff you've learned in undergrad, etc. So they try to gauge the motivation behind you applying for the school, stuff you have mentioned in your essays, and obviously your work experience. So that is what I mean by conversational in nature, and it's a two-way conversation. It's very interactive in nature, and in terms of duration, the ISB interview typically lasts for 35 to 45 minutes. But I'll just give you a rough flow of how the interview goes if you're planning to apply for ISB this year or planning to interview for ISB this year. So yeah, this is a culmination of my experience and others who I have personally partnered with. So typically the ISB interview starts with the question, which is a very typical question, which is give us a brief overview of your profile. And in this question, I recommend people to keep it to 2.5 minutes long, and also follow a reverse timeline order, right? So if let's say you are somebody who's working as a consultant with Deloitte, and let's say previous to this, you completed your bachelor's from Delhi University. So your answer should start with, I am working with the Deloitte India team as a consultant. As part of my work, I have done these things. And prior to this, I completed my graduation from this college in Delhi University. In college, I did these XYZ internships. And prior to this, I did my schooling from ABC school. And in my free time, I like to pursue these hobbies or stuff, anything that you would want to mention. This is a very important answer. Why? Because this answer is important, because the second and the third question that the interviewers might ask you in your ISB interview is a derivative of this answer. So if you're mentioning your work ex or a random hobby like playing the guitar or an internship with a startup in college, be very sure that you're very thorough on each and every component that you're mentioning in this answer, because they might pick up on something and ask you follow-up questions on that. Why? Because मेरे साथ क्या हुआ था यार, that I mentioned a very random resume pointer, which was a live project which I did back in undergrad. The issue was that I had mentioned it on my CV for the sake of mentioning, right? So I had not done a lot of work, and they asked me questions on what was the live project, what exactly was my contribution, stuff like that. And I was genuinely stumped. मेरे को लग रहा था मेरा इंटरव्यू बहुत बकवास गया है. I had to muster a lot of courage to get back in the game. So be very, very cautious of the fact that ISB is trying to gauge your authenticity in terms of what you've mentioned in your application, CV, all of that, right? So don't bring up stuff in the interview which you're not comfortable with. That's one. And typically their second, third, fourth question can be about your work ex, right? So if let's say I am somebody who's working with Deloitte right now, their questions can be what has been your most significant achievement. If you have won an award and if you have mentioned it in the award section of your application, they can bring it up and ask you, ye award kyun mila? What is the frequency of this award? What was your contribution? They can ask stuff like what exactly has your work entailed till now? And also what is your biggest challenge that you faced at work, right? So that is one. Then they typically come to your essays, right? So the first essay, as all of you would know, is on peer learning, which is what value will you add to the ISB classroom. So they might pick specific episodes from that essay and ask you to give a verbal recap of that. And if let's say you mentioned about some clubs, जैसे कि मैंने volunteering किया है and I would want to contribute in the net impact club at the school, that can be one story that you might have mentioned in your first essay. They can ask you questions on how exactly will you contribute to this club. So please do thorough research. Try to talk to alums about what exactly does the club do, what has it done previously in terms of initiatives. That will really help you stand out in your interviews, right? And if you want to get mentored on your interviews or your essays for ISB as well as other business schools, we at Career Edge have alumni mentors, people who have passed out from these schools, who are there to handhold you for your entire journey. And we also help you with coaching for the GMAT from faculty who have scored a 760 and 770. For any details, you can just go to my pinned comment and visit our website. But bringing us back to where I was, they can ask you questions on your essay for sure, which is the first essay. In the second essay, it becomes a little more tricky because it's very important from an interview perspective. The second essay is based on what are your short-term and long-term goals and how will ISB help you in achieving those goals, right? So they will definitely ask you ki goals kya hai. And if let's say it's consulting, the question can be why consulting? What excites you about this field, right? So be very well read on what the field entails and why exactly do you want to make a switch to this field post ISB, right? The second question can be what if ISB does not happen, because you need to have a plan B, right? So in such cases, it's always good, doesn't matter if it's ISB or any other school, it's always good to say that I have prioritized this school in my list. If it does not happen this year, I'll take feedback from the school, incorporate it, try to get better at my story and candidature, and then apply again next year, right? Questions can be on what if the career path that you've envisioned yourself to be in, what if that career path does not happen? Let's say you mentioned that I would want to go into a top tier consulting firm post ISB. It's a competitive space to get in, right? So the questions that they can ask would be, अगर consulting नहीं हुआ तो क्या करोगे, right? So you should have a plan B in mind. It can be working in a startup, it can be working in product management, it can be working in a leadership development role with, let's say, HUL, ITC, etc. Right? So always have a plan B in mind for the school as well as the career path that you have talked about in the second essay. Questions can generally be on by ISB, right? Which is a very typical question. अब इस question में I'll spend a little more time. Why? Because इस question का सबको पता है क्या आंसर है, सबको पता है क्या faculty है, क्या courses हैं, क्या alumni network है. But the way that you answer this question is what sets you apart, right? So let me explain. So why ISB, right? So here I'll recommend you to have a framework, which is, this is where I am. I'm a consultant with Deloitte right now, XYZ things. This is where I want to be, which is, let's say I would want to get into McKinsey or Bain or BCG. So to get to where I want to be from where I am, I lack certain skill sets, which can be access to the right opportunities, impactful communication, team leadership, all of that. To cultivate these skills, ISB will help me through, let's say, 4 levers. The first lever is knowledge, which is knowledge essentially means who is teaching you, which is professors, what you are being taught, which is the subjects, and how are you being taught these subjects, right? So talk about subjects and professors align to your goals. If it's product management, definitely talk about subjects like product and service management, strategies for the digital economy. Go through the ISB curriculum on their website and pick 2 to 3 subjects as well as professor names that will help out. And the way that you're taught at ISB is a case-based approach, right? So you are given case studies which you read before the class, then the discussion happens, then the professor synthesizes all the learnings for you, right? So which is very helpful. So that's knowledge. The second way in which ISB can help you is exposure, which essentially means that beyond the classroom initiatives like clubs, whatever clubs you want to join, like the experiential learning program, which is like a remote internship opportunity, whatever aligns with your goals beyond the classroom, you talk about in exposure, right? The third is experience, which is who you are learning with, right? So ISB is generally the only business school in the country where people join in from a work experience range of 2 to 20 years. And you have people joining in from tech, from startups, from a medical background, people who are lawyers, CAs, bankers, etc. Right? So it's generally a very diverse cohort. And the last point is the network, right? So the ISB community is a very close-knitted community. It stays with you for life, be it for finding a job, be it for finding a co-founder, be it for anything and everything, right? So this is how I'll structure and how I actually structured my answer when I was asked by ISB, which is, this is where I am, this is where I want to be. I lack certain skill sets, and these are the 4 levers which will help you, which is knowledge, experience, exposure, and network, right? Barring this, they can ask you random questions on any hobby which might intrigue them. They can ask you questions on any award that you won at the workplace, right? So questions range from essays, work-ex, hobbies, why MBA, why ISB, what are your goals, and it typically ends with do you have any questions for us, right? This is again very important because this is your last window of interaction with the interviewers. If you ask a useless question which is not value additive, or the answer to which is there on the website or in a forum, then it's not helpful. I'll tell you what I asked. So I asked 2 questions. The first was aligned to my goals. So my goal when I was writing the essay was I would want to get into finance first, and in the long term I would want to do something of my own. So reality में क्या हुआ कि मैंने उसको flip around कर दिया, तो I pursued entrepreneurship right after ISB. But my question was, I have heard that there are 2 incubators at ISB, D Labs in Hyderabad, Atal Incubation Center in Mohali. How exactly do these incubators help alums who want to do something of their own, right? Is it only for funding? Is it for networks? Is it also for mentorship, right? That was one question which was very well received. Why? Because it was aligned towards my goals. It was essentially, it showcased that I'd done my homework, and the answer to this question wasn't commonly available, right? The second question which I asked was a bit more personal, because I knew that सामने जो मेरे बैठा है, he or she is an alum, right? So I asked them that what were your notions about the school and post ISB outcomes before you joined, and how did those notions change after that 1 year at ISB, right? And they then talked to me about their journey, etc. So those were my 2 questions. But just before wrapping up the video, this is the typical flow of the ISB interview. But trust me, if you've reached till the interview stage, please have some confidence in yourself. The school wants to meet you. That is why they have shortlisted you. Don't try to portray yourself to be somebody who you are not. Be very honest, very raw, true to what you have written in the application, and you will get through, right? So don't try to overcomplicate or over prepare, right? And if you need help with mock interviews for ISB or essay writing for any school in India, USA, Europe, etc., we at Career Edge help you with essay writing and interview preparation services from scratch. How do we do this? We align you with a mentor who's an alum of your target school, and they help you with unlimited one-to-one live Zoom sessions to help you with your applications. And we also help you with coaching for the GMAT through our faculty who have been teaching students for the last 10 odd years and have scored a 760 plus in the GMAT. So feel free to check out the details in the pinned comment. And once again, all the best for your ISB interviews if you're interviewing this year. All the best for your B school applications if you're applying for an MBA this year. I hope to make many more videos on not only ISB but also other important career aspects like CV, consulting, startups, B school applications, all of that. But thank you for watching this video. Please let me know in the comments if this was helpful, and I'll meet you very soon. Thank you.